Hi, today's vlog is about how I came to love sports team Vancouver Canucks, National Ice Hockey League, baby. When my family lived in Thailand since 1992, they would often send newsletters back home to Canada telling churches that supported them what they missed and what they would like to receive in packages. One day, we received a package and it had ice hockey cards in it. And my dad began to explain to me what ice hockey was. And that year, in 1994, I was fortunate to actually be able to begin to get into some ice hockey games at a neighbor's, at a family friend's house who had ESPN cable. My family has never had cable. In its entire history, we've never had cable. I'm perfectly fine with that, actually. When I was younger, I would have loved to watch a lot of the cartoons available on cable. I missed cartoons a lot because, well, you can't get cartoons in Thailand. I think that was one of the things that really devastated me, was not being able to watch cartoons. In Canada, I would wake up early every Saturday morning just to watch cartoons. I'd wake up at 5:30, 6 in the morning because I loved to watch those cartoons. What happened was, there were some teams that I liked from the hockey cards simply because I liked their jerseys. I really liked the Boston Bruins. I liked the Vancouver Canucks. I liked the colors of black, yellow, and orange. I thought those were fantastic colors, and that's what really drew me to the Canucks in the first place. And this was a jersey they were wearing when I got into them. The jersey has since changed several times, and had changed a few times before it became this. I remember getting into the Canucks playoff hunt during the second round during the 1993-1994 season. And what happened was, I got it into them during the playoffs. It was the second round of the playoffs. The playoffs had 4 rounds altogether. Each round is played out a best-of-7 series, with a team that wins 4 games first against the competing team wins the series and knocks out the other team. You keep knocking out teams until there's the final 2, and that's also played out in the best-of-7 series. I was getting into the Canucks in the second round when they're playing against the Minnesota North Stars, who would later go on to become the Dallas Stars. I believe I was able to watch one of those games, or some of that game from that series, some of the game from that series. And I remember hearing about Pavel Bure and watching him on the replays and thinking, wow, this player is awesome. Now, Pavel Bure is an awesome player. He is probably one of the best pure goal scorers of his time. He could go from one end of the ice to the other and score a goal all by himself. He was amazing to watch. He was speedy, quick, and had a great shot and a great deke. Yeah, I want to show you some of my hockey cards that I've collected since I was younger. These are of Pavel Bure, the Russian Rocket. And I mostly collected Pavel Bure. I would always trade for his cards whenever I had the chance. Trading was always one of the fun aspects of collecting. Here's some more Bure. And yeah, lots of Pavel Bure there. Here's some more Pavel Bure. Pavel Bure is probably the reason why I like Canucks. If it wasn't for Pavel Bure, I probably wouldn't like the Canucks today. That's my favorite team. I started liking the Canucks, and then they won that series. And they went on to the next series, and by that time, our family had moved to the Northeast, where the only way for me to get the score of the hockey games was to purchase a newspaper and find the scores in the Bangkok Post. I'd have to walk half an hour to a place where I could buy the newspaper and come back home. And then I would devour what happened in the game. It was so exciting. I had and there was no way for me to know which day the game would be played. I just had to go and buy the newspaper. If the game wasn't played that day, too bad. It would be on the next day's newspaper. The Canucks ended up playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of my dad's favorite teams, in the next round, watching the Canucks play. My father really liked the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I was beginning to like the Canucks. And that rivalry really made it more interesting. Like, I was like, Dad, guess what? Canucks are going to beat the Maple Leafs. And my dad was like, no way.
Maybe it's because you're
Sure enough, the Maple Leafs won the first 2 games in that series, and I was still positive. I was like, Canucks are still going to win. I knew it. I had this feeling. And sure enough, once again, the Canucks won the next 4 games in a row, beating the Toronto Maple Leafs 4 games to 2. And this meant that the Canucks were going into the final series, the Stanley Cup Finals. By this time, it was sealed. The Canucks would be my favorite team for life. No one could pull me apart from them. The Canucks went to play the New York Rangers, my father's favorite team of all time, in the finals. The first game, the Canucks won, I believe, by a score of 3-2. And it was, every time I went to get that newspaper and read about the Canucks winning, it was such a good feeling. It was like I was cheering while I was reading a silly little blurb on a newspaper. There really wasn't very much written there. The Canucks ended up losing Game 2 and Game 3 and Game 4 by pretty large amounts. Like, the scores were 5-2, 6-1, really drubbing. I was losing hope, but I still believed. The Canucks went to win Game 5 and totally killed the Rangers in Game 5 and Game 6 to set up that final game, the winner takes all, Game 7, Stanley Cup Finals, Canucks versus Rangers. Later on, I would be able to watch some of those games on a videotape someone would send from Canada. But it's not the same watching a live version, not at all. I remember walking up to that newsstand full of hope, full of desire to read the Canucks win Game 7. And I would jump, I would pump my fist right out there in the middle of nowhere where no one knows anything about ice hockey. Where ice hockey is an afterthought. Nong Khai, northeast Thailand, at the border of Laos and Thailand. This little kid walks up to the newsstand, buys a newspaper, opens it up, Rangers win. I don't know if I could have been more disappointed. Could I have been more disappointed? Anyways, since then I've had a relationship with the Canucks. They've been my favorite team. I'm not a fickle fan, I'm not a bandwagon fan. I will always support the Canucks. And today the Canucks play a must-win game. Game 6 of the second round in the NHL playoffs. Since that magical run to the Stanley Cup Finals where I fell in love with the Canucks, they have never repeated that same success yet. They have never made it that close. They haven't even made it to the finals since that year. And what really inspired me to do a blog on this today is the Canucks are playing a must-win game against the Chicago Blackhawks. And it's only the second round, but I have this feeling that I really need to support the Canucks. And the game is happening right now, and I'm going to show you moments of my reactions to this game. Canucks versus Blackhawks. Game 6 in Chicago. And the series has been very interesting so far, very close. Somewhat disappointing because the Canucks have had leads in all 5 games actually. They've led and ended up losing 3 out of those 5. So I'm really hoping the Canucks can turn things around in this Game 6.